Hello everybody, welcome back to the Contest Round podcast. Welcome to a very festive Christmas edition, and if you are watching on YouTube, I'm wearing a Christmas hat. And if you're listening on the respective YouTube, SoundCloud, well, not on YouTube, on SoundCloud, Spotify and iTunes, then you'll just imagine me in a Christmas hat. You can imagine Dan in a Christmas sweater, or his festive mankini, but only his wife will be able to benefit from that. I've got to get people visualizing some stuff. So this is episode 44 of the Contest Run podcast. This is a special festive edition, as we'll be doing this one and a special 45th edition, which is going to be stuff for next year. So this one is all about the best and worst of 2020. By the way, I forgot to introduce Dan. www.frontlinemcoc.home.blog. Make sure to go there. Make sure to check out from around the battle round, what's going down, what's going on, and helpful guides and other information. So make sure to do that. Links in the description for that. So yes, we're doing the best and worst of 2020, Dan.
What a year it was.
What a year it was.
It was a roller coaster in MCOC, but I think the game's in a better place than at the end of the year than when the year started. We went through our roadmap. Seen the sort of the fruits of that whole process in the game today. But yeah, we're going to talk about some best and some worst and favorites of 2020. Starting off with the best champion of 2020. So, Rich, who is your choice for the champion of the year?
Okay, so this is going to be a very... I say this, everything's a bit... is a difficult one. It is a difficult one because there's so many good champions to choose from. Now, myself and Dan are going off a spreadsheet. As a lot of people know, we like spreadsheets.
We do like the spreadsheets.
Dan was feeding me the information to say that the spreadsheet on frontlinemcoc.home.blog has been downloaded 900 times at the point of recording this video for the variant 6 spreadsheets that I produced, and that's great, and I'm glad about that. I think we're going to try and link up a bit more, aren't we, Dan, to do things like that?
We are, get the content to the people.
Absolutely. Okay, so champions of this year, we've had Nova Squirgo, Longshot, Mojo, Moleman, Terex, Sorcerer Supreme, Storm Pyramid X, Black Widow, Deadly Origin, Red Guardian, Hitmonkey, Tigra, Guardian, Sasquatch, Airwalker, Dragonman, Apocalypse, Professor X, Cosmic Ghost Rider, Red Goblin, Immortal Abomination, iBomb, iHulk, and Spider Ham, all of which have somewhat unique abilities, which is good. Some have stuff that stands out a little bit more than others, and it's so difficult to kind of pinpoint some best champions. But I think for me, I've definitely narrowed it down to Spider-Ham, Apocalypse, Professor X, Tigra, Red Guardian, who else? Yeah, I think that's...
Did you say Cosmic Ghost Rider?
Cosmic Ghost Rider, of course. Red Goblins on it. I think those really come into my list of champions most. And this is a difficult thing for you. When you were talking about your best, is there something that stands out or something unique for you that's an ability that you're like, oh, thank God they put that in because that solved the problem?
That would, if you're asking the question in that way, I would say Spider-Ham and his degen counter.
Absolutely.
Because that's been something that we've been wanting for a long time, but it was also one of those things, like, I don't know if we ever believed we'd really ever get a true degen counter.
Yeah, exactly.
And there he is, and he is glorious. So definitely when you talk about, it's like, I'm so excited that a champion can finally do X, Y, or Z. Spider-Ham's degen counter and Red Guardian's ability to not proc any buffs.
Yeah, that's a massive one.
That's a massive one. Yeah, those two, as far as just pure like problem-solving abilities, those are the two that jump out at me. If I was to answer the question in a different way and say, what champion has had the biggest impact of the 2020 champions, I would say hands down it's Apocalypse.
Oh, yeah.
Because he makes the entire mutant class better. Every day you see different videos of someone trying out the horseman ability on a different mutant and it being awesome. Of course, with him as the Alliance Quest boss, that's caused a lot of problems and had a huge impact on people's Alliance Quest rosters.
Yeah.
And a lot of the resurgence of TIGRA has been in direct response to Apocalypse.
Yeah. I want a TIGRA, and it's...
Yeah, I do too now. I wasn't super hyped for her when she came out, but I'm starting to see that she's another one that is a problem solver.
It's so good that she's a mystic as opposed to anything like a skill or something that even though the amulet and mystical properties and whatnot. But imagine if she wasn't, and I just kind of think that it's so much better that she's mystic as opposed to it being something like a skill type champion, especially to kind of go like, well, she'd be at a disadvantage against Apocalypse. But yeah, that's
she's great. Definitely someone that I need to pull and spend some time really learning how to do that heavy counter. That she can do. I mean, I've seen some great stuff from MSD and some other players, but it's like, all right, I would have to do some serious work for that. There's a lot of champions that I like from this year. I think you've mentioned most of them. I don't know if you mentioned Sasquatch or Sorcerer Supreme, but very much like them. I like Mojo. Mojo. We had a lot of under the radar champions that were quite good, right? Like some of the ones that were the most hyped, and I'm kind of going to transition this into the worst champions of the year, were the Cosmic Heralds, right? Like Nova, Airwalker, and Terrax seem to always end up in that conversation for worst champion of the year. Is your worst champion of the year one of those three, Rich?
Yeah, I think it's got to be Mole Man. I think for that.
Oh, you're going Mole Man. You're going the skill Corvus.
Yeah,
who's at least getting a buff.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. I just think that the other champions, and I do agree, like with like Terex and Nova, they're bad. But Mole Man's one of these ones that you have to keep to really benefit from any kind of great damage output. You have to have him heavily sig awakened, and as well you'd have to play him constantly at a low threshold of health. And let's face it, when we come into like doing more end game content, one slip up, your health is gone. So the risk to the reward is, I understand, is meant to be there.
Not there.
But yeah, it's not there whatsoever for that. Definitely not for me. I don't want to have to like every fight revive a champion, kill it off to revive it or something like that. It's just not the way that I'd like to play. I'd like to have some sustainability rather than some fear ability.
That was what month did he came out in March? So that was Mole Man and Terex. That was a low month for champion releases. Yeah, for sure. But it's good to see that both of them are getting a buff. Terex, he's a frustrating champ to play when his rock field is not active. But I for me it's Airwalker. I just don't get it. Like, why would I ever want to play Airwalker?
Yeah,
and why do I have to wait a few fights before I can throw an SP3?
Yeah, those dark. I mean, it's a cool SP3 for the animations. Everything.
It's very cool. The animation is very cool.
Yeah, I mean, with Airwalker, I feel more could be done with those Dark Tide debuffs. It's like, for me, looking at this champion, it's like, well, what is he meant to be? Because a lot of the times you go, right, well, Cosmics, they're not so much with the debuffs, but they're more with the buffs. And with this, Kabam have kind of like looked at it and going, do you know what, we need something that's a little bit of A and a little bit of B. So what we've done is we've kind of given him a little bit of something of a debuff, but it's not as powerful as you might think. And at the same token, the buff side of things doesn't overly buff him up, but we have to wait several fights as a persistent champion to then do that, to kind of like maximize any kind of decent damage output. But by then, I think people have given up with any kind of hope that there's any kind of
there's just too many good Cosmics for that kit to be competitive.
Yeah.
So it's just like, why would I bother? At least Nova is frustrating. I think Nova is actually one of the most frustrating characters to play because of his rotation, but at least he's a good defender, which you can't really say about Terax or Airwalker.
No. We had this kind of like very weird month where it's been a weird time of like hit and miss. I don't know where they kind of like went, this after February, like, this is good. We've got people are loving this year so far. Nova, not so much. Squirrel Gold, yeah, all right. Longshot, Mojo, great month, do great champions.
Yep.
And then Moleman, Terex, and everyone's just a little bit depressed.
Yeah, but then they rebounded after that.
They did.
They did, and they had a good rest of the year for the most part with champion releases. They're never going to be perfect, but there's definitely some ones that you were very happy to pull out of the crystal.
Yeah, November. I was just saying quickly. November was a bit of an odd one with.
November was left field. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, very undecided as to whether or not these had any kind of great potential. And it's still the narrative with those two that they're better off with playing with Suicide Masteries.
Yeah.
But what was the big? I can't remember what was the champion or the issue with it divided. No, sorry, I'm thinking about an event. We'll have to. That's something for another time. Immortal Abomination, Immortal Hulk. Like, I don't know. There's a lot of people like said, Immortal Hulk wasn't there. Some are going still with Suicide Masteries to use it. I'm actually annoyingly warming to Immortal Abomination, not from a look perspective, but from the champion's just abilities.
He's got some good abilities. I think I will have to see if he becomes more popular to use.
Yeah.
For sure. I mean, there's certain ones like the end of the year champions like Cosmic Ghost Rider and Immortal Abomination. Like, not enough people have them yet. So you haven't quite seen all the gameplay and the different usages of them. But someone like Immortal Abomination could be pretty key in variant 6. So we'll have to see how that goes.
That's true. I so would have liked that. Right, so we've done best and worst champions. Is there any kind of like secret favourites for you out of these that maybe has something a little bit unique, but you probably won't be kind of going, maybe a synergy of some kind?
I mean, there's a lot of champions that aren't at that top tier that I do really like from this year. I really like Guardian. I really like Sasquatch. But my favorite champion of the year is Spider-Ham. I mean, he is balls to the wall fun. When they give us access to these champions as part of the CCP beta, a lot of times you go in and you're like, okay, like I got to read the description, what's the rotation, and got to figure out how to use it. Like the first fight with this dude, you're like, this is a good time. Like the animations are bonkers. Like they dialed the concept up to 11. They just went with it. It's like, all right, this dude's insane. So like he's nothing like anything you've seen in MCOC before. They just went for it, and his kit is there, his damage is there, like the Looney Tunes victory screen. It is everything you could possibly want from Spider-Ham, and they brought us John Mulaney back.
Yeah, I'm surprised that was possible, but if the offer was good. And they've done some stuff with other people in the past. I think they did something with the voice of a Wolverine for Marvel Realm, and they've done something with other
right, yeah, they got Steve Bloom to be the voice of Shogun Logan for Realm, yeah. And he had voiced Wolverine previously in comics and video games. But I mean Spider-Ham, man, he's just so much fun. What about you, Rich? Who have you enjoyed the most?
I think it's Red Goblin. Red Goblin I just got.
Really?
And I think for me, because I understood the rotations, or what the rotations I liked. So I like doing a build to an SP3. I throw it. I then throw a heavy attack with the pumpkin bomb. And then I throw an SP1. And that rotation seems to work out pretty well for me for just like a nice kind of burst of damage very quickly. And I've been doing that in the last couple of days when I've been doing the I say last couple of days, say 16th and 17th of December when I was utilising the champion for variant 6. I think for me that came at the right time, especially to use against that content, because I don't really have any high ranked up 5 and 6 stars for variant 6. So I'm kind of at a sort of loss with that, and I need to rank up more. I've just been holding off my rank up materials because I want to make like certain that I've opened all my crystals first prior to only doing rank ups. And now I'm at a point where I've rank 2'd my Red Goblin. If I get him awakened, then that's great. But I'm having a lot of fun with him just with the incinerates, power locks,
Nice.
other damage.
And his animations are ridiculous.
Yeah,
They're so good.
he's a fun one.
So it's interesting. I mean, he got panned a little bit when he came out, but I'm not sure if that was just because Cosmic Ghost Rider is just insane.
Yeah.
And they're the same. They're both cosmics. So one of them was going to get overshadowed. I think that's kind of what happened. But I also pulled Red Goblin as a 6-star recently, and I'm very excited to give him a proper testing.
Yeah. I think he's good. I think he's a little bit. I don't want to say he's underrated because I think he's rated as being up there, but I think that a lot of players are. I don't know. Yeah, it just goes back to that Cosmic Ghost Rider thing. It's like Cosmic Ghost Rider is the hype champion of 2020.
Yeah,
but maybe on par, or maybe Apocalypse a little bit lower than that, with Spider-Ham really there. You know, if I was to do any kind of like tiering with that one, a tiering of 2020, I'd definitely be kind of going like, right, well, you know, it would be Cosmic Ghost Rider, and then it would be well, I don't know. I'm trying to like I thought for like the video what I'd do is do like a tiering list for the events in a moment, but I could do the same thing with champions. Of kind of going like, right, well, we've got under S Cosmic Ghost Rider, and then below with A would be APOC. I don't know. I would go Red Goblin. And then kind of like dropping down. I mean, some of the worst, you know, we've definitely got Terex. We've then got Mole Man. And then
I would say Terex, Mole Man, Airwalker's in there.
And
it's hard to say.
Yeah, it is, because I'm thinking
Great
like
Immortal Hulk as low as those other ones, but he's definitely, you know, in the bottom 20% of this year.
Yeah, I definitely think that people would go like, oh, well, that's... People would... The problem is, how do you benchmark this for people that got suicide masteries that are getting different numbers to others and would rate differently?
Right.
Like, somebody on Twitter, I think it's... Is it Corey? No, it's not Corey. It's somebody else. Caden? Somebody keeps sending me like bits of Immortal Hulk performing well. And it's like, yeah, I get it. I understand. Like with Suicide Masteries, of course. But it's one of those things that puts it like 50-50 down the middle, whether or not players actually have Suicide Masteries and whether or not, you know, it's a necessity for everybody. But yeah, at the very top.
You know,
yeah.
I mean, Dragon Man's up there. I've seen some great Dragon Man gameplay. I know Cam is a big proponent of Dragon Man. Guardian is great for the extra armor he brings to teams. He's got those huge specials. It's you know, some of those it's just like, well, is it fun?
Yeah.
Like Squirrel Girl's a fun champion, right? But then you've got you know, Hitmonkey's a fun champion, but is he fun and necessary? Which is that other level. Like, I like Sasquatch, he's fun, but does he really solve problems? Like Sorcerer Supreme, like she solves some problems because of her regen on block, right? Like Legacy's had some great videos about her. You know, TIGRA the same way. Right, like she's proven to be kind of a necessary part of the toolkit going forward. Yeah,
this is why I've got like in S, Cosmic Ghost Rider, Spider-Ham, A, Apocalypse, Red Goblin, Dragon Man, TIGRA, Guardian, B, Squirrel Girl, Hitmonkey, and down with D, Immortal Abomination, Immortal Hulk for E. and an F Terex Mole Man, and Airwalker. So it's just like putting in where the others really lie with it. Like Sasquatch is good. I'm gonna say
he's a good champ. I think that's just the truth. He's good. He's not great. He's not bad. He's good. Like if you got a Sasquatch early in the game, he would help you.
Yeah.
But it's hard when I think it's particularly hard for mystics that don't do the traditional mystic thing of just his ruptures are cool, but it's like, okay, when I think about playing a mystic, I'm always like, okay, I need Doom, I need Sorcerer Supreme, I need Symbiote Supreme, I need to stop these buffs right now before they kill me.
Yeah.
And he's this sort of mystic tank, which I love, but is not called for that often. So like that's I know he could kind of be an Arcus counter, so that's cool, but so can Symbiote Supreme. Professor X is a weird one. I don't think we've talked about him. I'm interested to see where he ends up because he's a very good champ, but it's the same story, right? Like he came out the same month as Apocalypse, and only one champion can really get the headlines of the month, and it tended to be APOC.
Yeah, this is the one. I know that Cam has probably one of the best tier lists that's ever been created ever for MCOC with this kind of like useful, not so useful, like that I think there's something I wanted to create a long time ago, but I just thought, like, is it worth doing it? But Cam,
that's kind of how I like to think about them too, because I think that it helps explain to players more than just like god tier or semi-god tier or what whatever. It's like it gets into the why, right? Like there's certain champs like Ghost and Quake where it's like, okay, they're broken, and then it's like, okay, who's a problem solver, who's just fun, who could you use to just kind of get by with, who's not helping you at all. Like that's more how I tend to think about the roster building anyway.
Yeah, this is why I'm like creating tier lists. Like I'm looking at this kind of makeshift tier list that I've put together here of the year's champions. But the more that I look at it, the more I'm like, well, I'm sure that like that there will be somebody to kind of like disagree and will have a very valid reason. And I think that's the thing with tier lists. So this is why I never really do tier lists unless we're talking about events. I think that one's going to be a good one to debate because it's not about a champion, because it's not like going like, well, there's some positives and negatives. There's all positives except for talking about well, maybe there's not. I don't know. Everyone's able to scrutinize everything, but I don't know.
Yeah, you can't worry too much about that. But before we move on to events, as part of the CCP, we get a first look at champions and we give our snap judgments and reactions. So, Rich, who do you feel like you were wrong about this year? Who was that champion that you didn't like, but now you're coming around to?
I think it's TIGRA. I think it's
is it TIGRA?
It's TIGRA. Part of me was like Black Widow, Deadly Origins, but I don't enjoy that. The more that I've trained with my 4-star TIGRA, the more I'm enjoying it. The more I've trained with my 5-star Black Widow, Deadly Origin, the more I dislike it. Which
that's interesting because my pick is Black Widow, Deadly Origin. I hated her. I thought she was so slow. I didn't see any damage, and but I pulled her very early on my free-to-play account as a 4-star, and she was my first 5 of 50. And I take her to AQ. I take her to War. She destroys everything. I've got the rotation down now. She's such a good champ. I am taking my 5-star on my main account to rank 5. Yeah, I was wrong about Black Widow, Deadly Origin, and TIGRA would definitely be my runner up there. I was all in on Sasquatch. I really thought Sasquatch was the better champion that month. I still really like Sasquatch, but it's clear to me that TIGRA is becoming a real important champ now.
Yeah, maybe I will.
So that's my oopsie for the year.
Maybe I will then relook into Black Widow, Deadly Origin. Possibly like next year time, because I do have the 5-star version, and I have ranked her up. I've got a rank 4, and I should revisit and give her some more kind of time. But maybe that's my New Year's resolution, is to give more time to that champion. But I still, like I said, TIGRA is my next goal as a 5-star to get. That is a necessity.
Oh yeah.
If not, if I pick up a 6-star, that would be amazing. But
I wouldn't complain about that one bit.
Okay, we got to move on to favorite events now. Top events of the year.
Yeah.
Now
many events this year.
Now I can properly create my my event tier list, and this will actually make more kind of like sense, because there's actually kind of like juicy stuff to talk about with how stuff has been good and bad. So just going to quickly over the events. So we had Squirrels versus Scrolls, A Cornucopia, Excommunication in February with Love's a Battle Realm, of Rocks and Rodents in March, with the second event being Mole Man's Expeditions. From Beyond hit up our April with Faction Wars. We then had towards like May time, late April drop for this one, Black Widow Black Widow Red by Dawn. And we had the targets. We had Red Room Quest, Intel, and Store. We then had Samurai's Journey, the Island of Dr. Modok, hitting up June. July saw Missing Links Northern Expeditions as the side event. What the hell is that? Annunciation. Thank you. God, my English understanding is not good. In August, with Heralds of Galactus, Rise of X, Mutant Treasure Island in September. Recursion, Hades Invasions hit up October. November saw Immortal Hulk with the Gamma Store. And finally, December this month saw Framed by Fame. And the side event was Back on the Air. Well, and also the other challenge thing. But December's been full of loads of stuff. Oh, events, Dan. Events.
So many events. Some of these I had forgotten about. Like, when you sent me the list, I was like, oh, I had completely forgotten about A Cornucopia and the Acorn Store. Way back in January, but that was a really good event.
Yeah, we've technically had 3 stores this year, with the Acornucopia store, the Intel. I want to say was there an Intel store, like Red
Intel store? Yeah. Oh, with no, it's in there with the Black Widow month.
Yeah, but did we have? Oh no, I'm getting confused here. No, yes, no, we did, because then we had the Red Room that were like damn, what were they called? What are they called? Those things where you portals and whatnot. Oh, what are they called? Rifts, thank you. So those red rifts. So that was. But they had a store with that, didn't they, as well?
They did. They did have a store with that. Yeah, and I think the store events always are really, really popular. I think everyone was pretty excited by the Acorn store, but the Gamma store, for me, was one of the best of the year, because it had such good stuff in it, and it had all those milestones, right?
Yeah.
Too. So it was, that Gamma store was great, and there was just little bits of Gamma everywhere, but you didn't have to get all the Gamma to get everything you wanted. So there wasn't sort of that constant fear of like, well, if I miss one thing, I'm gonna miss out on the best part of the month. I just thought that was really well done and structured event. So I'm a big fan of all the stores, but I think the Acorn and the Gamma store were the 2 better ones.
Cool.
Yeah.
I've put Gamma Store and Acornucopia in our SS, because I agree with that as well. I think they're definitely for sure. Now, Excommunication, the February event, I think there was only one side event, which is the Lovers of Battle Realm.
I believe it was Love's a Battle Realm Part 2, right?
Part 2. I don't know why I put down Part 3. But yeah. Like,
no, because it was, I think 2019 was Love is a Battle Realm 3, and they made it Love is a Battle Realm 3 Part 2, because Deadpool is so quirky.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed this one. I thought the rewards were pretty good, but the Deadpool dialogue was on point for this one. So I very much enjoyed Love is a Battle Realm.
Okay, well, with Love is a Battle Realm, I'll put down as a B for the time being. Love is a Battle Realm. I'll put that down as a B, and then we might have to shift some stuff about with this. But Moleman Expeditions. If I remember rightly, these were more grindy than normal.
They were more grindy. Yeah, the expeditions are usually pretty grindy. So these were, I think the rewards were pretty good, but those take a while for sure.
What was I'm just trying to think what frustrating. I don't think it was as frustrating as when he went against the Guardian fight of Northern Expeditions, because I think there was a very early on bug. If you were to put Moleman Expeditions down anything, where would you chart it? Would it be kind of like CD territory? Would it be strong B?
I think probably like a C.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
Because they were. I think this was the first time they did anything like this. But if I remember
it was
rightly, we faced off against. There was there like an ambush, like I know there was a Sasquatch ambush, and then we'll get onto that in a minute.
We'll get to Northern Expeditions in a little bit.
But yeah, I can't remember if there was.
I think it was. I don't think it was overly difficult. I just think it was grindy.
Yeah, so that was good. I like the next one, Faction Wars, when we had the option of going part one or the other.
Yes, I very much like these quests where you have to choose the side and you kind of get into the theme. I would, and the rewards were good for not that much work.
I want to put this as a strong A for Faction Wars. If our stores, our Gamma Store or A Cornucopia are kind of like our S, then our A.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, because that's the great thing about that particular quest is it gave choice. The same way that Gamma Store and A Cornucopia give you choice of what you buy. Faction Wars gave you that option to go like partway through the month, switch back to the your allegiance to the other.
Right. It was
faction.
you could go for the shards or you could go for the catalysts. So I always think giving players the choice is good.
Okay, so the targets, Red Room Quest, Intel, and Intel Store, right? There's a lot going on with all of that. Because like we were presented with all these targets, which was nice. We get to kind of like, I think at that point searching had become available, so you could search the character you wanted to defeat to then go to get the Intel or Red Room. What was it? There was something you had to grab. I don't think it was called Intel, but I think it was something in particular. You then went and did the Red Room quest, which was the one that was similar to a rift, and I love rifts. And also, I got in that one, I awakened my Nick Fury. And I think there was something that went wrong, so I think we got some more something or other. What was it? That was it. The Oh, now I just lost it. It was that thing that we had to get. It wasn't a disruptor. It looked like a metal detector. What was it?
Dimensional chronometer.
Thank you. The dimensional.
Remember, we were arguing all my. Is it chronometer? Is it chronometer?
Yeah.
So you pick your reward from the rift. So I think the rift part of it was very well received.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. I'm reading it now. Yeah. You get assigned a target as a special objective. You earn a key card for the Red Room quest, and the whole point was the dimensional chronometer, which allowed you to take the randomness out of the reward, which people very much liked.
I think that is better. That's why I think it's got a chart quite high.
Yeah, that one. Now that I'm thinking about that was pretty good.
Yeah.
And we're with so many discussions. Should I buy the chronometer? When do I buy the chronometer? How do I buy the chronometer?
But
I think those side quests are always like that.
Yeah, people were choosing the champion they wanted to awaken. We got people going, "Oh, I'm never going to awaken my Aegon," and it's like,
right. Yep, they would wait until they saw the gem. And remember, the cool part about that was you could go into the quest, and if you saw what you wanted, you could buy the chronometer then.
Yeah.
And return and use it. That was pretty cool.
I think because of the element of that allowed people to change and improve rosters quite dramatically. If there's one champion they're holding out for, I think that's got to go right at the top. I don't know. Where do you feel on that one?
Yeah, that would be right up there. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to put Red Rooms, Rifts, Chrono, Chronometer, or whatever it's called. Which I think is good. There were things that are on there. I want to say there was a store, not just. So there was a store and that stuff. Yeah, I think there was a lot of stuff with that side event.
There was a store, yeah.
It's very creative. Like well done. I think Kabam on that one, because that was a very creative idea.
Yeah, I think they loaded up a lot because it was supposed to be a movie release.
Yeah,
like that was supposed to be a very big month.
Rumor was that was meant to be a celebrity challenge.
That doesn't surprise me. I mean, that you'd think they would try to do a tie-in like that. So.
Next up, and the island of Modoc. Island of Dr. Modoc.
Island of Dr. Modoc. I'm looking through my notes, and I actually at some point wrote an article titled "Actually Good: Island of Dr. Modoc," because I think the title sums up the fact that my opening line: traditionally, laboratory side quests haven't been very popular with the player base. So, if you remember, they did do a few things with this where they didn't. You got the samples. You didn't have to play it once every 24 hours.
Yeah.
And they had very class-specific lanes, so it wasn't quite the slog that it was in previous times. Because all right, well, I don't know exactly who's going to be on the lane, but I can bring my cosmic counters. I can bring my mutant counters. I think pretty much everyone either took Corvus and took down the tech lane, Human Torch and took down the Mystic lane, or took their robots and took out the mutants.
Yeah,
so.
I remember that now. Now you've reminded me.
Yeah,
I've gone.
And they did have the buff deleters, and this had a store too, because this had the gold coins and the gift shop.
Yes, it did, didn't it? That's weird.
So this was actually. I think the initial reaction to it was not kind because labs were seen as very grindy, but this was actually an example of Kabam sort of improving on a returning event.
Yeah. Okay, where would you chart this then? Like, I feel this is either going to be A or B.
Probably a B.
Probably a B. I do very much agree.
Because it was still some work. It's still some work, and it wasn't the pure kind of fun of the Gamma Store or the faction wars, but it was a good event.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally agree with that. Next event is the Northern Expeditions. This was the first introduction of a Cavalier difficulty to a side quest. Was it referred to as a Herald difficulty or a Cavalier? I can't remember.
This was Canadian difficulty.
Canadian difficulty. Of course it was. Canadian difficulty. Now, apart from the rewards being better, I kind of feel that because of the Sasquatch random fight, it kind of lowers down. And also the way the Guardian was broken as the main boss.
Very grindy. Yeah, very grindy. A lot of paths. And it was the ramping up of the difficulty. So you had a lot of newer Cavalier players being introduced to buff to up and diss track, and that caused a lot of problems for those players.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember, but it seemed like there was a lot of conversation about those nodes and the soon to be throne breakers who are playing map 7 were just like, yep, whatever. But for a lot of people, combining those nodes and only bringing 3 champions to a quest and getting ambushed by Sasquatch 3 out of 4 times, it was a lot. It was a lot. So yeah, I would not rate it super high.
Okay, I'll go with an F for the time being, an E for the time being, and then I'm gonna say yay.
It wasn't a disaster. It wasn't like a Sinister Labs or something from a couple years ago where it was just like, I'm not even going to do this.
Yeah. Okay, we have got next up Herald of Galactus. I think this is the one of this year that I loathe the most, because I was trying to find a specific day that was actually good to take all of the enemies down. I think it was only one day a week that I actually not enjoyed, but I thought it was passable.
Yes, I remember now. This was so it was like a different map every day that rotated through.
Yeah.
So you had 28 tickets rotated through. Oh yeah, Cat Murdoch did some awesome infographs, but these were brutal. Like some of the Herald difficulty stuff. Like it was really pick your poison as far as these paths. They threw a lot of nodes on these.
They weren't
Look at the skill one where it's like, oh, Mix Master and Sprite. It's like, nope. So they were all the same class except for the Tuesday, which was kind of a hodgepodge. But I think everyone was doing the Cosmic one.
Yeah.
If I remember. But the Cosmic one was Wednesday, so that meant the last week, because it ended on a Tuesday, you had to do all the difficult ones.
I just remembered what they put on that one. That was Arcus, wasn't it? As the end boss.
That was the Arcus boss. You know things are bad when the Arcus boss is the easiest of 7 choices.
Yeah, exactly.
That tells you all you need to know.
Blast you, kabam!
They were preparing us. They were preparing us, all right.
Yeah. So I think for me, I've put that down. I even started off by putting that in F. I'm going to keep that down in F just on the basis of how unfreeing it was and how painful it was. And sort of roster restrictive to a degree. It was tough. That was, I think that was the hardest one of the year. Yeah. So I definitely put that down there. That's right. We go on to, I think, an incredibly popular one now. Mutant Treasure Island. This was the Quake or Ghost of side quests this year. This thing was broken. It was way too good. It was so easy. I pulled a 5-star Captain America Infinity War on my free-to-play account. Nice. From this when it was in the middle of like Act 2. You know, it cost me like 2 revives because I was able to get the because it had a 5-star featured crystal in there, and it was like if you could parry, you could get a 5-star featured crystal as a very low level player. Yeah. Now the launch of the thing was bugged, so that created an issue. Because you remember people got banned from exploiting the event. But once it got going, people got lots of rewards. They liked it, but it was one of those that, you know, I'm sure a lot of people would rate it as the best of the year. Yeah. Certainly from a rewards standpoint, it was. There's not really an argument against that. I just think it was too much for too little work. And it kind of messes up everyone's sort of ratings of what to expect. Yeah. God. What an event. Honestly, just the most excitement I think everybody's... Not excitement, it was a lot of hype. It was. And I know we talked about at the time, like the views on content about anything about Mutant Treasure Island were through the roof. Yeah. Like there was so much hype. I mean, you're talking a killer side quest, Apocalypse and Professor X at the same time. Like that's gonna get you excited. Plus Cavalier difficulty in the event quest. Like September was a very good month for the game. Was. Which then kind of like when Hades Invasions rocked up, it kind of put us back to this kind of Northern Expeditions, Mole Man Expeditions type vibe. Because it was kind of similar to those. Yeah. And it's just like where they come from, the hype to then not the fall, but it kind of puts it back into that kind of sort of grindy territory. And as well, they did put some like certain bosses in place. I think they put a Mojo boss in that Hades Invasions. Yeah, they also did a Red Hulk as well. I think that for me was because it was very specific and you had to do a bit too much thinking. And, you know, it's fine. There's from time to time to do a bit too much thinking about the specific nature of champions you're bringing in. Because you had to have immunities and you had those little... it was weird because they created all those soul boosts, which
made it harder.
Mm.
Like you didn't actually want to use those.
Yeah, I can't remember if I actually ended up using any.
I know I didn't. So yeah, it was kind of like there was that multi-step one of right, like you had to do the limbo quest, and then you go into the Hades invasion. But there were some pretty good rewards. You could get those monsters and hunter shards. There was there was half a 6-star from shards. It was a pretty good event if you were a mature cavalier, or I don't know if you could be Thronebreaker quite at that time, but for those players, it was quite good. Like it wasn't that hard, and the rewards were pretty good.
This puts me at a difficult point of like where I put the that event, Hades Invasions, because we've got.
Yeah.
I feel this is around like the BC territory, or maybe like a C, but then it's like, well, is it something that it should be more? Mole Man Expeditions should go down to a D, and then C should be a Hades Invasions. What do you think?
I think this was better than Mole Man Expeditions.
Okay, cool. So I will put, I think, that down to the.
This was better than Mole Man. It was better than Northern Expeditions.
Cool. That's good. We've padded out the tier list.
I think it was just, again, it was one of those that came out a little buggy. People got very confused because there were so many steps.
Yeah. This one's going to be a very exciting one to talk about, and that's back on the air. So the epoch shards.
Oh, people love this thing.
Yeah.
I think this might be one that I actually think is a little overhyped because people just went nuts on those Cavalier crystals. Yeah. Like it's a good event. I like the dialogue. I like the rewards. I like tying the theme together, but it's still it's very RNG based. Yes. How you think about this event. But people don't seem to care.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's weird because people complain about RNG so much, but they don't seem to be complaining about the RNG rewards so much with this event, which is actually good to see.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is a solid event.
Yeah, I mean, for me looking at this, it's not like I can't remember actually. I need to kind of like have a look if there was anything on rank resources like.
There was less T5CC from this than we had seen from the previous side quests. So, as someone who's looking for the T5CC, it's not as good for me. But let's face it, December is stacked with a lot of calendars and gifts and rewards, so you can't be too critical.
Yeah, I think
of the rewards here.
For me, I'm kind of looking at this as being an A. So it's not quite like Mutant Treasure Island, A Cornucopia, Red Rooms, and the Chronometer, and Gamma Store, but it's definitely on that line of saying like Faction Wars, because with Faction Wars you got a choice, like your shards or something. But in this one you've got all of the stuff, and you got some of the choice with the RNG with stuff. What do you think, A or a B?
With an A, I could see that, and it's only 2 paths, so it's not super grindy.
That's also
so you feel like you're getting something done. It's only 6 quests. It's 2 paths. I like all that.
Good. Back on the air.
On the air.
Brilliant. Our tier list, which just kind of because I'll have to send this through to Dan, but kind of our tier list looks like this. And if you're watching on YouTube, you'll be able to know this. And I'll probably put this as a clickbaity thumbnail for you to check out for this podcast. Is that on S, we've got Mutant Treasure Island, A Cornucopia, Red Rooms, Rifts, and Chronometer, Gamma Store. And on A, we got Faction Wars back on the air. We got B as Lovers of Battle Realm, Island of Modoc. C being Hades Invasions. D being Mole Man Expeditions. And as we go down lower to E and F, we've got Northern Expeditions and Heralds of Galactus. And I think that is a spot-on tier list for events in Marvel Contest of Champions in 2020. What say you, Dan, on that?
I would say that's definitive.
That's spot on. Just quickly going over to the Discord, because I did create a quick room to find out where people were. Funnily enough, on the Discord room, I see more Mutant Treasure Island. Mutant Treasure Island, Mutant Treasure Island. Someone says Spider-Man back on the air. That's good. What else? Yeah, just Mutant Treasure Island. I think. Yep. Mutant Treasure Island. Baron's War. That's what we were thinking of, that the factions thing. Baron's War it was called. So I think that's good to see that people are spreading around. Someone said Gamma event. So that's good to see a spread of people's interests on that. But yeah, it seems that Mutant Treasure Island has definitely got the top tier. But yeah, I'm glad we did this little podcast, having a look at the best and the worst of the year. Dan, any kind of like thoughts on anything this year?
It was just such a long year for all of us, right? Like 2020 feels more like a decade than a year. And it was just nice to have the game kind of go through a resurgence, take all that feedback that we were giving in the spring and coming out with the dev diaries and the roadmaps and the revamp of Act 7. And the game's in just such a better place than where it was at the beginning of the year. That just makes me happy and hopeful for 2021. And I just have a lot of good memories of this year. Definitely doing the podcast with you. It's certainly been a highlight. Incursions with you and some of the other people in the community like Royal and Simula and my buddy Vet. I like that stuff so much. And just, I don't know, just chatting with the community on Discord and Twitter and, in a year where we've been so isolated from our friends and our communities and our coworkers. It's been really wonderful to have something to talk about that's actually fun.
Yeah, no, I
so totally that's my takeaway from the year, and I just want to thank everybody that kind of interacted with Frontline and the podcast, and Rich and I on the streams, and it really means a lot to kind of have that outlet. And I think you'd be surprised like how much a kind word means to a content creator, especially these days. So big thanks to everybody.
That's a very good point to say that. Yeah, because doing this it's been good. It's been helpful, I think, for a lot of people going through COVID to have at least something to have as a regularity. Whether or not it's a Marvel Contest of Champions has been a regularity in times of, like, what's my main game? Marvel Contest of Champions, and it's good to play. As well, like with COVID, a lot of people just stuck inside, so it's been good to kind of like go through that. The podcast has been around since the start of 3 months after 2 months before the start of COVID-19, and this podcast has gone through the points of, hey, hopefully there's a vaccine. They're working on a vaccine. They've got a vaccine, so that's kind of like, it's crazy. But the way that the game has evolved, we went through the stuff in May where we didn't think, is the last days of Marvel Contest of Champions. Kabam aren't listening. The game's going in a different way, and then they go, boom, let's kind of kick into action. Look at all these different improvements, quality of life improvements, just little things. The way that ISO accumulation for me is better. Tier 5 class catalyst, Tier 2 alpha accumulation. The Throne Breaker title, even though people question it, it's like, the way that the content's been made as well, that it's fun. I've seen
content.
A lot more.
Variant 5 was awesome. Book 2's great.
Yeah.
Like, just fun content. That's something to be thankful for.
Exactly. There are some stuff where Kabam will miss the mark, and there's the stuff that they'll make a mistake. But at least to say that they've learned lessons where you've got other mobile games, and that's a key point to make, is like, look, Marvel Future Fight is on his ass. It's on its ass.
I know. Like, you ever watch any of the videos from that community? It really makes you thankful for the way that Kabam has listened to us.
Yeah. And it's like they're not perfect. By the time we're making this podcast, they could have scuffed up the way the gifting event may have gone down or something. But at least it's a different time, and different stuff has changed in the 12 months since the last time. But we'll see. Right, I think that is it for the podcast. That's episode 44. This has been our best and worst of the year. Merry Christmas, Dan. I don't know if you want to say Merry Christmas to everybody.
Yes, Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
There we go. We'll see you whenever. This has been recorded prior to the end of the year. So let's wish for a great 2021, and we're going to work towards our 12th month episode, our 1 year anniversary. So be around for that when that goes, and follow us on links in the description and on SoundCloud, Spotify, iTunes, and Dan on www.frontlinemcoc.home.blog. Links are in the bio. Thanks and bye bye.